Welcome to another Retronaut video. So in this series of videos, we're going to look at my own technology and computing history. And I want to do that because I want to give you some kind of insight into my own sort of journey through technology. Why do I want to do that? Well, because I think it gives you some kind of insight into who I am and what I've experienced when we're actually interacting with technology on this channel, different computers, different consoles. So my journey in computing began with a console back in 1977. Before Christmas that year, I'd seen a Pong console advertised, as I remember. I'm not really sure if it was on TV or if it was in a print catalogue. Honestly, it's so long ago, I really can't remember. It was relatively cheap, so I think it was probably in print. It was pretty common in those days to buy items from large catalogues, and then you would pay for them in installments. And my family tended to do this, so I'm pretty sure that was where it was discovered. I was not aware of it basically at the time, but it was an Atari Pong knockoff, and to be honest, I didn't really care if it was a knockoff or not. It really looked very cool when I got it. I was aware of arcade machines at the time. I was aware of Pong, but they were very rare in my part of the world. And Pong itself, I think, was so rare, I don't think I ever saw one, to be honest. Even to this day, I've not actually seen a real Atari Pong arcade machine in the flesh. So this new console would allow me to play Pong at home, and that seemed very, very exciting. And even though it was a copy, the games looked pretty close to the original. I think it's because the games were basically basic. There were bats, there were balls. The bats hit the balls bounced around. It was all good. It looked like Pong to me. So I can remember poring over images of the console. It was orange and black, quite striking. It had the required paddles, and it even had a light gun, which was different to Pong because that meant you could play some kind of shooting games. It had other games like tennis. In fact, I think tennis was Pong. I think they avoided using the word Pong just to avoid copyright issues. So yeah, I mean, I really, really wanted it. So on Christmas Day in 1977, wrapping paper was torn apart and there was a new revolution in home entertainment in front of me. It was a Binatone TV Master System. For both me and my immediate family, it was the first introduction to a computer, or rather a console, and also video games as a new art form. Let's be clear about this. This was a totally new experience. It was the first time we could all do something on a television, other than just watch what the broadcasters had decided to send over to us over the airwaves. I mean, think about that. Before that point, you could only ever sit back and passively watch what was on broadcast TV. So in the UK in the 1970s, we only had 3 channels at that point. And we'd only just actually got the 3rd channel. So the choice in viewing wasn't really that massive. And even worse, broadcasting only started at 3 p.m. each day. And even then, it tended to be black and white movies from the 1930s. But now, on a rainy day, I could plug in my console and I could play Pong versus my friends. It was really great. It was literally a revolution in home entertainment. And of course, that sounds like a cliche, but that's exactly what it was at the time. And at this point, this is when my own love affair with computers and electronics started, really. So let me just show you the console, and I'll just give you an idea of how it worked. This is an RF lead, and at the time, televisions work from radio frequency, hence RF. And generally, the radio frequency came over an aerial, and there was a decoder in the box that would then decode that and turn that into images. Now, this console just directly feeds in the RF signal into the TV and takes over and displays what it wants to display. In this case, Pong, or as it's called on here, tennis. So they've called Pong tennis on here. It's the same thing. I mean, it's called table tennis, right? So this was normal tennis. You also had squash, and this mode here says practice. You would just basically choose which mode you wanted to use by using this slider with the different modes on it. You also had squash, where you were playing against another player, two-player. You've got football, which I can't remember at all. I can't imagine it's any good because at the end of the day, there's only two bats that can move around and a single ball. So that's a bit weird. And then there were two shooting games, which used this gun here, which was pretty amazing, really, at the time that I could do that. But it did actually work, and it was actually pretty good. I've heard it say that it isn't actually as accurate as you think, but it gives the illusion that you're being accurate. So yeah, over here on this side of the console, you've got different buttons for choosing different modes, sound on and off, power on and off. Obviously pretty important. How speedy the game is. Obviously, if you're an older person, you might want to slow it down a bit to make it a bit more playable. The angle, not sure what that is. The bat size, that's pretty obvious, making the bats bigger. And serve, auto, or manual. Not sure what that is. Oh yeah, well, you've got a manual serve here. So you could actually serve the ball by pressing this button, or I guess it just automatically fired off once you started the game. You plug the two paddles in here. These were analog controllers. I guess these were variable resistors. And it would then use that to basically move the bat up and down. And that was it, really. I mean, that was the only control you had. You could move the bat up and down. And the ball would come at you, and you either missed the ball or you got the ball. And it would bounce back at your opponent, and you would then pong the ball back and forth. Really, really rudimentary by today's standards, but at the time, yeah, it was pretty revolutionary. I've actually looked up this console, and I didn't know it, but it was actually very cheap. So in a catalog called by a company called Argos, which is a famous company over here, it was on sale at the time for £20. Now, this was in 1977, so £20 was actually a lot more money than it sounds. But to give you an idea, a few years later, the cheapest home computer that came out was the ZX Spectrum, and that was £125. So you can see that this is obviously 6 times cheaper than a ZX Spectrum. Having said that, it was several years earlier, and you were getting, you know, a pretty amazing deal, really. I mean, look at this, right? You've got the console, which is, to be fair, not badly made. The plastics are quite decent quality. You've got these two controllers, and you've got the gun, and I think the gun is the star of the show, right? Very James Bond. I think it's actually, it looks like it's the one which was used in Live and Let Die, was it, with Roger Moore? It looks very similar anyway, where he's standing like this. Yeah, I can remember getting this and being very, very excited, pew, 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 shooting at the TV. And yeah, it was also the beginning of not only gaming on TVs, but multiplayer gaming. Which was right in there, right at the beginning. And that was really great. So this was a bit of a showstopper on Christmas Day. Everybody wanted to play this, my grandparents, my parents. And when my friends came over, they also wanted to play it as well. So yeah, this was fantastic. Now, you've got to bear in mind there were computers out at this time, microcomputers, but they were very, very expensive at this time in the 1970s, 1977. So for now, I was, what, 6 years old? And this was easily good enough to get me going on the road to computer technology. So yeah, pretty cool. Anyway, hope you liked this video. If you did, please click on the like button and subscribe to the channel. In the next video, we're going to look at the next piece of technology which I had on my road. And that was the Atari VCS. And that was, again, a bit of a leap forward. I hope to see you in that video. I hope you enjoyed this one. I'll see you there.